What is up, everybody? My name is Kyle and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, thank you so much for joining. And if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate it. Today's video is, well, we're back on plant content. So I mentioned in the last video, I'm home from tour and it's officially fall now. The leaves are changing outside and I've got plants blooming in the house. So wanted to walk you through what's currently flowering. It's not a ton of stuff. I've got 4 plants that I wanted to talk about and then 2 honorable mentions. But if I'm being honest, my Hoya Linearis is blooming and it's the first time that plant has ever bloomed for me. So I got really excited. I was trying to drum up a reason to feature it in another video so I could talk about it, show it to you guys. And yeah, so really that's kind of the reason why I put this all together. But I was fortunate. I have a few other plants flowering in the house, another Hoya and a couple others. So without further ado, let's jump into the first 3 and then we'll do the Hoya Linearis near the end because we're actually gonna have to move into the other room for that. So yeah, without further ado, let's talk about the first flowering plant. Okay, so I changed the angle here a little bit because I think it's gonna be easier to show you the plants this way. Hopefully, we'll see. But yeah, let's just jump in. The first plant I wanted to feature shouldn't really come as a surprise since we're just a few days away from November when I'm filming this. And I think this is gonna come out right before Halloween, if not the first week after. But the first plant that I have flowering is my Thanksgiving cactus. So this is Schlumbergera truncata. I've also heard it pronounced Schlumbergera with the hard G, but I like the soft G, it sounds fancier. Schlumbergera. So this is my Schlumbergera truncata. This is a Thanksgiving cactus. So if you're into plants, you probably already know that there is a Thanksgiving cactus, there's a Christmas cactus, and then there's an Easter cactus. So Thanksgiving and Christmas are both Schlumbergera, and the Easter cactus is actually a form of Rhynchobrassoleya. And I have one back over here, which I'll pull down near the end just so you can see. Actually, I'll pull it down right now real quick, just to make it easy since I'll be talking about it. So just real quick, this is what I believe to be the Easter cactus. I don't think I've ever had a Christmas cactus, so this is the Easter cactus. This is a Rhynchobrassoleya, but we're not talking about this one because it's not flowering. So my Thanksgiving cactus, this plant comes in a variety of flower colors. I actually had this in 2, so I had this in this white pink that you see right now. And then I had like a more, I think it was like a fuchsia pink version. I gave that one to my sister. I like the white flowers better. I think they pop a little bit nicer against the green foliage. It's a little bit cleaner. And yeah, really like this plant. As far as care goes, I keep it in a south-facing window in my basement. So it gets good south-facing light, but not the best because there's a bit of an overhang and it's like a half-sized window. I know some folks, when these stop blooming, will actually move them somewhere with lower light because I believe it helps them bloom again the next season. I've moved this one around, and what I found, honestly, is if it lives somewhere that it's happy, it seems to bloom every year around the same time. Again, that's just my personal experience. I'm sure that there are tricks and tips to like make it flower better, make it flower bigger, but that's just my care for it. This plant, real quick, is a, I believe, semi-epiphytic plant from Central and South America. So, you know, falls into the tropical plants, even though it has the word cactus in the name. It's a tropical cactus. You know, I don't even know if it's a true cactus, but that's for somebody smarter to talk about. But yeah, so this is my first plant that I wanted to talk about, the Thanksgiving cactus. It is blooming right on time. This is right when it bloomed last year. And yeah, one thing to note with this is the flowers are pretty delicate and they fall off pretty quickly. So I've got one right here. Really cool, intricate flower. I've heard the flower shape described as like shrimp before, which I can kind of see. One thing I will say too about it is I don't really like the way the flower petals feel. They almost like stick to your finger as you rub past them. So I found even as I'm like watering this plant or like cleaning it, I've just by brushing it, pulled these flowers off because it'll like catch against my hand, catch against my skin, and just like tactily, I don't really, it's kind of gross. But yeah, beautiful plant. Okay, let's move on. So yeah, that was a Thanksgiving cactus. Next up here, we've got a plant that I actually don't care for very much, but it's flowering and it falls into the criteria for this video, so I wanted to show you. That is my silver band Maranta. So I've had this plant for over a year now. I don't love it. I don't know. It's a Maranta. I keep it in my north-facing window. It does fine. It'll, leaves will brown and die off kind of as they please, but the plant doesn't really do much for me. It has not like vined out much. It stays like pretty clung to the side of the pot, but it flowers for me all the time. You probably can't really see that because they're pretty small and insignificant. I'll throw a macro lens on and try to shoot some of this stuff that doesn't come out great on video, but yeah, this is my silver band Maranta. This one flowers all the time for me. You can already see there's actually, a past spent flower dying off over here. Once this thing starts flowering, it doesn't really stop. I've found that to be true with other Marantas. So I had a silver band Maranta that flowered for me all the time. I just, surprise, surprise, could not keep spider mites off of it. I loved that plant. I really, really kept it alive as long as I could, but could not keep spider mites off of it. My other Marantas, I don't really have that problem with them, but just as time has gone on, they've done less and less for me. So this plant, it's a good like low light plant to throw in places where you can't throw your other highlight plants that you may want some foliage. But other than that, this plant doesn't really do much for me. I don't do anything special for it. I know folks will use like distilled water to water the Maranta so that they don't brown. I don't care enough. And really, once the spider mites find it, I find it's kind of like the end. So yeah, silver band Maranta is flowering. I've had a red banded Maranta flower for me many times. And then just for the sake of showing you another Maranta, because I have it, this is my lemon lime Maranta. This one grows for me fine. It's never flowered. It always has some leaves dying off. It's a little dramatic, but it's a Maranta. It's also in a north-facing window. And yeah, this one hasn't flowered. That one has pretty small, insignificant flowers. I'll also say kind of a pain in the ass to clean up. The small flowers drop all the time, and you're just constantly cleaning them up from around the pot. So yeah, my silver band Maranta is flowering. My lemon lime Maranta is not. I'll hold them both up. They're fine plants. I don't love them. I don't know if they're necessarily worth the struggle that most people have with them, but because they stay alive for me, they stay in the collection, and sometimes I'm rewarded with a stupid, insignificant, boring flower that I could give two shits about. So yeah, okay, that's these. And now let's move on to the Hoya and then the honorable mentions. All right, let's move on to some Hoya. So I currently only have 2 Hoya blooming in my collection, despite having over 50 Hoya in the house. I think over 60 now, but you'll probably see that in a future video. That said, I've only got 2 Hoya blooming in the house right now. My Hoya Bella is budding up, so maybe I'll throw in some video there so you can see like the early buds, but of my Hoya, there's only 2 blooming. I already spoiled that the first one was my Hoya Linearis, but the other Hoya I've got blooming here is my Hoya davidcummingii pink flower. So I don't know exactly how I'm going to show this one to you, but if you can see, maybe that focused. Got the pink flowers right there, and then actually it's budding up, if you can see that, right over here. So this is my davidcummingii pink flower. There is at least one more variety of this. It's a different colored flower. I want to say yellow. It might be green. I could be wrong. I'll throw something on screen so that you guys have like the correct information. But I love this plant. The leaves are, nothing like crazy special visually, but they're super rigid. They're really thick. It's a really prolific grower. It is like split for me multiple times. You can kind of see here where it's like kind of fanning out now. But yeah, I love this one. It's a really easy grower. It's in a very small nursery pot. If I can get it out of here, you can see how small it is. But I keep it in a south-facing window here in my office, actually right over here. It does very well for me. It started budding up and flowering like, I want to say within a month of me purchasing it. And it really hasn't stopped since. So yeah, love this plant. Hoya davidcummingii pink flower. It's native to the Philippines. and I know that there is at least one other variety with a different colored flower. When it comes to the smell of this one, I don't really notice much, but if you're familiar with kind of like the Hoya community on Reddit, I made some notes here. There's a Reddit user that goes by Tight Slacks, and they put together this spreadsheet that keeps track of Hoya blooms and their scents, how long they last. It's a really, really cool resource. So I looked into that, and when I looked up davidcummingii, it said from a scent standpoint that it smelled like butterscotch, ice cream, or cheese. So 3 very different smells. I don't have the most acute sense of smell. When I've been able to smell this plant, which really is like in the evening, to me it kind of smells like tires. It kind of smells like car tires, like burning rubber-ish. Not in like a really hyper offensive way, because again, my sense of smell isn't great, so I kind of don't notice this one. But if you get up in there, it does smell to me a little bit like tires and a little bit like kind of like roses, like that kind of like rose flower smell, that kind of like freshness, which feels weird because I said tire and freshness. But yeah, that's just been my experience. I also don't have a great sense of smell. So take what I said with a grain of salt, but according to that spreadsheet that Tight Slacks put on Reddit, this one is supposed to smell like butterscotch, ice cream, or cheese, maybe all 3. If it is all 3, I'm really glad that I can't smell this one. So yeah, this is davidcummingii pink flower. My arm is getting tired because this is a very, very weird way to hold this plant, but hopefully that means that you can see it. I'll show you the blooms one more time here. Really pretty blooms. Really prolific bloomer, and yeah, great Hoya. Okay, we're just gonna do the honorable mentions now because they're here in the room with me. I'm sitting comfortably at my desk, and we're gonna have to relocate to go look at the Hoya Linearis because I don't wanna move it. So let's just jump into the honorable mentions. The first one actually really isn't an honorable mention because it still has a bloom on it. So let me just grab it here. This is a really cool orchid. Hopefully, that's in focus for you. As you can see, the flower is dying back now, but this is I gotta look this up. It's Rhynchobrassoleya. This is my Rhynchobrassoleya spotted charm. So I don't have a ton of orchids, but I really like orchids, especially the weird ones. If you follow me, you may have seen on like my Instagram, I have an Ocindium orchid, I think is how you say it. And then I've got a couple Phalaenopsis. You'll see one, spoiler. But this is a really cool, strange really cool, strange orchid. I don't know a lot about it. I can barely say the name. Like I said, Rhynchobrassoleya. When I bought this about a year ago, I bought it in bloom, so I knew what to expect. And honestly, I didn't think I'd be able to get it to reflower. I really liked the foliage on it and like the really like turgid leaves and this kind of like stalk-like growth. So I was okay with it not flowering again, but I was really happy to see this summer that it did flower for me again. I'll cut in like a photo of what it looked like at its prime. But yeah, this is a really cool orchid. I love it. It lives in my front room in a south-facing window. It's like 2 feet back from the window. It sits next to a chair. And yeah, I don't know a ton about this orchid, but I really like it. I was really stoked to see it reflower. And yeah, if you're local to the Chicagoland area, I bought this actually at Jungle of Niles. And if you're a plant person in the Chicagoland area or just generally a plant person that's online, you may know Jungle of Niles because the place seems to go viral like a couple times a year. It almost feels like a giant big box store for plants. There are a lot of strong opinions about Jungle of Niles. I'm not going to get into that here because I don't feel like that's my place, but I do buy plants from there every now and then. Just like with most plants, I make sure to, wash them down and inspect them before I add them into my collection. So yeah, I've never seen this one anywhere else. And yeah, this is my Rhynchobrassoleya spotted charm. Honorable mention, but it's still got a flower on it. I'm not even going to cut for this next one because it's right over here. So this is an honorable mention. I mentioned Phalaenopsis orchids. So this is my Phalaenopsis orchid, one of 2. As you can see here, it's budding up. it just finished putting out some flowers over here. Again, I'm not super like into, I shouldn't say that. I really like orchids, but they kind of scare me. So I don't have a ton. This one is just from a grocery store. I'll cut in some photos, or if I have video of what the flowers actually look like. I believe this Phalaenopsis is called golden staff. If not, it looks a lot like golden staff when I look it up online. But yeah, I've had this one for a couple years now. It's put out a lot of leaves since I first got it. I think like most orchids, when I got it, it was maybe 2 or 4 leaves, but keeps putting out leaves. It's flowered for me. I guess this will be the 3rd time now since I bought it. So I bought it flowering and it's now reflowered for me. This will be number 3. It's a beautiful Phalaenopsis orchid. I believe it's considered a mini orchid because the blooms aren't very big. It obviously doesn't take up much space. But yeah, this one's an honorable mention because had I shot this like a week and a half ago, there'd still be a flower on this, but it is budding up. It's gonna flower eventually. I'm pretty confident of that. And yeah, I really like this Phalaenopsis orchid. I love the way the aerial roots have been growing out. It's just a super cool look. And I wanted to mention it because it's gonna flower eventually here in the next couple weeks. So yeah. Oh, one other cool thing I wanted to mention is, I don't know if you can see it, but this time around when it flowered, it actually put out like 2 branches. I don't know if that's the right word. And it flowered from both of them, which was just really cool. I'm used to seeing them all like kind of being on one stalk together. I don't know if that's a maturity thing or a conditions thing, but this guy stays over here in a south facing window here in my office on the 2nd floor. So it gets really great light. And yeah, it's gonna flower for me soon. So yeah, those are the honorable mentions. And with that, let's go check out the Hoya Linearis. Okay, so we're just gonna do this portion handheld. We've lost a little bit of light since I started filming, and this plant is near impossible to handle since I've got it hanging from the ceiling. But this is my Hoya Linearis bloom. This is my favorite Hoya, probably my favorite plant in my collection. And I mean, I'm just over the moon that it finally bloomed for me. It is budded up multiple times. It always blasted them. I'd kind of given up on it even flowering for me, but yeah, it flowered for me. It's really cool. Let me back up here so you can see the whole plant. Because we lost some light, I'm using a ring light here, but let me get this back in focus. So here's the whole plant. I've got it hanging in my guest room. It's a south-facing window. It's in I believe that's an 8-inch pot, and the plant is once again touching the floor. So I have another video, which I'll link, where I get into this plant a little bit more, and I actually trimmed it back to do some propagations, and also so that it wasn't touching the floor anymore. But in that short period of time, it has already touched the floor and then some. I may have actually trimmed it back in between as well. But yeah, this thing continues to grow and grow for me, but just finally flowered for me now. So I've had this plant since 2023. I bought it in an 8-inch pot. It really only had a couple inches of vine hanging off the top, but it took off. It's just continued to grow. I repotted it once into a little bit deeper of a pot. And yeah, it's always growing, but had never flowered for me before. So I managed to catch a time lapse and get some cool photos of the bloom, which I'll cut in here. But I at least wanted to walk you through this in a video and show you the bloom. Let me get that back in focus. One of these days I'll get a better camera too, so I'm not fighting with the iPhone focus. But yeah, Hoya Linearis, this plant is native to the Himalayas. So I believe as far as Hoyas go, it likes a little bit cooler of conditions. That said, I've got it in probably one of the highest light spots of my house, and it does perfectly fine. But yeah, in regards to how it smells too, according to that spreadsheet, let me look at my notes here. It said, sorry, this might be a boring shot, but I got to look at my notes. So the note said that it smells like citrus rind, orange, and lemon cupcake. I mentioned my sense of smell is not great, but to me it smells like candy. I can get a little bit of citrus in there, and I've noticed for me that it smells strongest like midday into like the early evening. Like right now I can't really smell it, but again, my sense of smell is not great. So yeah, this is my Hoya Linearis. It's finally bloomed for me. I'll make sure to cut in that time lapse if I haven't yet, and some of the photos. But yeah, I love this plant, and I'm just so stoked that it finally flowered for me. Okay, so that's gonna be it. I just wanted to show you what was blooming in my house right now. Mostly just an excuse to talk about my Hoya Linearis again and show you the blooms on that. But yeah, showed you a couple Hoya, a couple orchids, Schlumbergera, and yeah, that's really all I've got flowering in the house right now. But if you have any tips or tricks on the plants that I talked about, or any answers for the questions that I had, like, you know, why that orchid branched the way it did, please let me know in the comments. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. My name is Kyle. This has been my channel. Please feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.